In my previous video, I alluded to the idea that I would be ranking each Tera type in the context of OU. Today, I am here to do just that. I won't bore you too much with exposition, so out the rip, here are the parameters I will make my rankings upon. They're hopefully pretty self-explanatory, but if not, feel free to let me know and I'll be happy to clarify where needed. 1. Application. How flexibly a type can be used as a Tera type in the context of the metagame. 2. Execution. How effective a type is at filling its intended job. 3. Necessity. How effective a type's niche is compared to its competition. Before we get started, I want to give a huge shout out to Gloomstalker for helping me compile these replays, as well as to the Sticky Web Discord for giving me feedback on these placements. You guys really help make this the best I can make it, so your support means a lot. With that said, let's not beat around the bush anymore, and let's get started.
Disappointment in the game of life!
Psychic is sadly completely useless. Defensively, its benefits are completely non-applicable, and your Pokemon receives a U-turn and knockoff weakness. Offense is the main reason to pick it, and even then, it's extremely situational and completely exclusive to Psychic terrain structures, an already very fringe and borderline unviable composition. As such, it is the only type that I believe is arguable to be useless in OU.
Believe in yourself! If you don't, who will? I sure won't!
A metagame with Great Tusk everywhere makes Tera Bug a weirdly decent auxiliary choice for Pokemon that want a headlong rush resistance but don't want to make themselves vulnerable to Ice Spinner, such as Raging Bolt or Ceruledge. Lokix is the only Pokemon able to use this typing offensively, which, granted, really makes its first impression near unwallable for offense. Defensively, this typing is a liability, but offensively can be alright for a few select Pokemon. Mainly, its role is to grant Rock-type Stab to Serperior and Rillaboom via Tera Blast. However, juicing up Iron Boulder's Mighty Cleave and Ogerpon Cornerstone's Ivy Cudgel can really help amplify the damage output of their main stab moves. Ignore that Ogerpon has literally no choice in the matter, though. This typing is all in on offense, and generally does a good job of that thanks to Tera Blast granting Ice-type stab to Pokemon that appreciate the complementary stabs such as Landorus Therian. Although it's mostly used for Tera Blast, Kyurem's existence in the tier gives Tera Ice a minuscule defensive niche on stall and balance teams. Either way, it's very committal and comes with tremendous defensive drawbacks.
I mean, it's alright, like...
This typing is quite literally useless defensively as it doesn't change the target's defensive profile. But offensively, it can be a good tool for all-out attackers that value their coverage, being able to secure KOs, yet still like to keep their initial defensive profile. Its Tera Blast is completely useless, however, except on Serperior and Enamorus, who can snowball thanks to Contrary's interaction with the stat drops it typically has, and also appreciates Stellar's ability to hit everything without resistances in the equation. Although its upsides are fringe, they're consistent enough to be worth running on the few Pokemon that do. This typing is almost purely for Zapdos, Raging Bolt's Thunderclap, and Thunder Wave users, as Paralysis is absurdly common for its ability to incapacitate most setup sweepers in the tier. As such, it's fairly common to see this typing on Zamazenta and Hawlucha. However, some Pokemon like Kyurem and Serperior like having the Tera Blast to round off their primary stab move. This typing is mostly seen for its ability to provide stab to Pokemon that use fighting-type coverage such as Iron Crown and Goldengo. However, defensively granting a user a Sucker Punch, U-turn, and knockoff resistance could be situationally useful. There are some Pokemon that also use it to amplify their fighting-type stabs, such as Iron Hands. This type is seen on similar users as Tera Bug for similar reasons, but comes with far more defensive consistency thanks to granting the user a Spikes immunity and greatly reducing the weakness count. Unlike Bug, however, it has much better offensive applications, being able to grant Pokemon like Landorus Therian, Thundurus Therian, and Dragonite the flying-type stab they desperately crave. It can also pair well with acrobatics users like Roaring Moon. Getting a Hex and Shadow Ball immunity is nice, and having only one weak point that isn't all too common can leverage turns for bulky wall breakers. However, its biggest uses come offensively, thanks to its ability to power up high-value moves like Boom Burst, Facade, and most importantly, Extreme Speed. Extreme Speed Dragonite is the most prolific user. However, Swords Dance Gliscor, Ursaluna, and Komo-o are also major users of it.
When you do things right, people won't be sure you've done anything at all.
This is the most common type used on stall for its ability to provide a stored power and Psyshock immunity. However, its offensive applications are very felt on King Gambit, Zamazenta, and Iron Valiant, since powering up Dark-type moves is extremely relevant for the myriad of Pokemon that use it as their main stab and as a vital coverage option. Tera's Steel complements a lot of Pokemon thanks to its myriad of resistances, making it a really strong reactive Tera. It is a strong Tera choice on Pokemon with immunity abilities such as Hydreigon and Latios, which makes it a situationally great Tera to commit to. However, its common weaknesses make it lose value rather harshly throughout the course of a game. A very solid defensive Tera typing overall. Its ability to check Ogerpon Wellspring while not adopting a U-turn weakness is a rather worthwhile commitment in and of itself, and it can leverage the user into Iron Moth. Offensively, it is exclusively used to power up Dragon-type stabs, as its Terraplast has only ever been used at a high level by Volcarona. This typing is seen hugely for its ability to reliably punish Ogerpon Wellspring, but it has a more reliable matchup spread than Dragon since it also does better in the Great Tusk, Raging Bolt, and Walking Wake matchups. A really great type offensively with some decent, but not outstanding, defensive applications, as having an immunity to Thunderclap and Thunderwave is the main appeal defensively. Offensively, it boosts extremely powerful and common coverage moves in Earthquake and Earth Power. It also makes for a gnarly Tera Blast on Pokemon like Iron Moth, Iron Crown, and Iron Valiant.
Hey, that's pretty good.
A really great Tera type defensively, as it is able to check a majority of the tier's most threatening options like Zamazenta, Iron Valiant, and Iron Moth. It is pretty hard to exploit, especially when used on grassy terrain-oriented compositions, as it also comes primed with a poison/toxic immunity, making it especially potent into bulkier teams. Offensively, it is extremely niche, so it's generally only used for its defensive applications, but those alone are highly effective. Water is one of the best defensive typings in the game in its own right, which makes it a very reliable catch-all for defensive Pokemon. It's a common go-to for Gliscor, Landorus Therian, and Galarian Slowking since it complements their defensive profile as well and boosts their resilience into Brain and Sun alike. Offensively, it's also solid, powering up some dangerous water-type stabs from Walking Wake and Ogerpon Wellspring. It doesn't do any one thing the best, but its reliability on both ends of the spectrum makes it effective. Burn is the most common and debilitating status in the tier, so Fire, the only type immune to it, is one of the most reliable choices for a lot of dedicated physical attackers. It also comes with several meaningful resistances, creating relevant matchup improvements into the aforementioned Iron Moth and Iron Valiant. Offensively, powering up Fire-type coverage for burn-prone sweepers that need help at a Steel-type such as Dragonite can be really useful. It also comes with a nice Tera Blast, mainly for Dragon Dance Kyurem. It is fairly committal due to introducing a Stealth Rock weakness, so it's mostly used when a Pokemon is in a dedicated sweeping/wall breaking position, but its wide defensive and respectable offensive applications on sweepers are extremely felt in the tier. One of the most reliable Tera types in the game, since Fairy is the best type in the game, both offensively and defensively. Many offensive Pokemon appreciate the highly versatile defensive profile, and there are also a lot like Dragonite and King Gambit that use it for its Tera Blast, which does an extremely good job complementing common coverage and stab moves as well. It's very hard to go wrong with this typing. So many Pokemon tend to run it as the default regardless of their role. As a catch-all, it's both extremely effective and extremely powerful, which makes it extremely common. Ghost is the best Tera type in OU. I made a longer video talking about it, but the TLDR is that it grants a rapid spin, extreme speed, and body press immunity while also being a great type offensively. If you'd like me to elaborate, please check out that video. And there's my ranking. I hope even if you disagree that there is some insight that this ranking could provide for you. If you do disagree, please let me know in the comments. I'm more than happy to have a dialogue about any of these rankings and would love to know if there's anything major I missed. Unfortunately, college starts again for me very soon, so this will be my last video again for a little while. I'm hoping that I can figure out a more regular upload schedule if the support is there, so again, please let me know if you enjoy content like this and would be interested in seeing more in the future. Positive reception as well as dedicated feedback really helps send a message. Thanks for watching!